'cause this Christmas I'm home. Sleigh bells ring, are you listening? In the lane, snow is glistening. A beautiful sight, we're happy tonight, walking in a winter wonderland. Gone away is the bluebird, here to stay is a new bird. He sings a love song as we go along, walking in a winter wonderland. In the meadow we can build a snowman, we'll pretend that he's Parson Brown. He'll say, are you married? We'll say, no, man. But you can do the job when you're in town. Later on, we'll conspire as we dream by the fire, to face unafraid the plans that we made, walking in a winter wonderland. Snowman, we'll pretend that he's Parson Brown. He'll say, are you married? We'll say, no, man. But you can do the job when you're in town. Later on, we'll conspire as we dream by the fire, to face unafraid the plans that we made, walking in a winter wonderland. Walking in a winter wonderland. Walking in a winter wonderland. Tried to amend my carnivorous habits, made it nearly 70 days, losing weight without speed, eating sunflower seeds, drinking lots of carrot juice and soaking over rays. But at night I'd have these wonderful dreams, some kind of sensuous treat, not zucchini, fettuccine, bulgur wheat.
All right, well, we're still waiting for Robyn, so we're not going to get started yet, but since everyone got quiet, I'm going to start speaking anyway. We have some chairs over here. We have a couple of chairs over here, one or two in here. So those of you standing in the back, if you want a seat, please feel free to take a seat. I want to take a moment to welcome everyone here to Nauggle Funeral Home. Thank you everyone for coming out for Dennis and his family. The family is going to be saying some prayers, sharing some stories, and is going to be taking the lead on the services here today. We're going to start with Donna, who's going to be reading the 23rd Psalm. Thank you.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Whether you knew him as Dennis, Dad, Den, Dad, Uncle, Pop, Mr. Rapp, Coach, Denny, or Big D, upon meeting him and talking to him, you knew what to expect. He was a hardworking, thoughtful, trustworthy, and a compassionate man. Dad was a journeyman machinist who worked for 45 years at Triumph Controls Aerospace Division as a toolmaker. Dad was a perfectionist, and every job he did was precise and to the best of his ability. I think that's why he liked his job as much as he did. Everything he had to do at work had to be precise, or the flight controls wouldn't operate properly. I believe his job was his comfort zone. That's why he went to work every day that his health would allow until the day he passed. Dad did everything he could for his family. He made sure we had every opportunity to succeed in education and athletics, from teaching us valuable life lessons to sitting around and cracking jokes. My childhood wasn't perfect, but overall, looking back, it was a positive experience. He taught me a variety of things, from riding a bike to driving a car, and teach me values that helped me become the man I am today. As an adult, he gave me valuable advice. Whether I listened or not, that is between us. I will say, however, he was more often right than wrong. I have a couple of memories of mine that I would like to share with you. One weekend when I was in middle school, we went on a father and son trip to the mountains. He rented us ATVs, and we went tearing down the trails, which he followed me at first, probably to make sure I didn't fall off. And we came across some muddy areas, so being a smart ass that I was, I decided to fishtail and hit him with the mud. He tore off in front of me with a grin on his face and proceeded to fishtail way better than I could and covered me with mud. We just stopped and started laughing at each other. He taught me how to drive, but I had to learn on a manual transmission. He took me to the local school parking lot for my first lesson. He explained me and showed me how to operate the car, but of course I didn't listen. I let the clutch out way too fast and caused the car to buck hard enough that Dad hit his head on the dash. He just looked at me as I was apologizing and said, "I guess you didn't listen," and let the clutch go too quickly. I eventually figured it out and passed my driver's test. Thank goodness it wasn't a '67 Mustang that he used to tell me he waxed and polished so much that a piece of tape wouldn't stick to the car. And thankfully, he also got the opportunity to teach my daughters how to drive. Dad was very active in the community as well. He coached my Little League teams as well as my sister's cheerleading teams. He volunteered his time as a fire policeman as well as an EMT at the Perkasie Community Ambulance. He knew a lot of people throughout the community. There were times throughout my life that I would be walking around and random people who I didn't know personally would come up to me and say, "Are you Denny's kid?" I would say, "Yes, I am." And before I knew it, we were having a conversation about my dad. I am more like my father than I would like to admit, from eating a bowl of cereal every night, snacking on peanut butter crackers, to beginning of my own Pop-Pop belly. I asked my daughters to sum up Pop-Pop in one word. They said unique and patient. I think that is the best word to describe my dad. He was patient. One time when my daughter was screaming as a baby, no one could console her, and we were all frustrated. We left her with her Pop-Pop because he was the only one to have the patience to handle her. So Dad, this isn't goodbye, because you will always be a part of me. This is I love you, and thank you for everything.
Hi, my name is Justin. I had the privilege and honor to befriend Dennis over the past year, and I feel greatly honored to share some music with you today because I think probably out of everyone in this room, I knew him probably the least, and yet we were able to connect over these past couple months, just talking about where he was at in life, and so I'm greatly honored to share the music that the family has picked out for today. I heard there was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord, but you don't really care for music, do ya? It goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall and the major lift, the baffled king composing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Well, baby, I've been here before. I've seen this room, I walk this floor. I used to live alone before I knew you. I've seen your flag on the marble arch. Love is not a victory march. It's a cold and it's a broken hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Well, maybe there's a God above. All I've ever learned from love is how to shoot somebody who I truly love. It's not a cry that you hear at night. It's not somebody who's seen the light. It's a cold and it's a broken hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Most people don't know me as a crier, so I apologize. Okay. My dad was one of a kind. He was the kind of person that people spoke highly of because of his kindness, compassion, humility, loyalty, patience, and respect. He'd do absolutely anything for anyone. Today, he would certainly have tears in his eyes seeing how many of you have come to celebrate his wonderful life. He would have also been surprised, as he was very humble and never wanted to be the center of attention. At a young age, I quickly became my dad's little sidekick. Whether I was riding on his shoulders, sitting on the pitcher's mound at Jeff's baseball practice in my car seat, or in the cart when we'd stroll through the aisles at Home Depot on a Sunday morning, which always ended up with me getting a soft pretzel, I wouldn't be too far from his side. When he volunteered for the ambulance, he'd take me on calls with him and give me important jobs like talking to other kids or organizing supplies. I liked hanging out at the station, but I really enjoyed the off-duty training at home the most, where we'd watch the show 911 and eat ice cream while my mom would be in the kitchen saying, "How can you eat while watching that?" Nowadays, I wouldn't be able to eat while watching that. I would go with him to his electrician side jobs and sort all the wire, nails, bolts, you name it, to perfection as his assistant. As I got older, I would sort furniture pieces, paint supplies, until I earned my way to helping put the pieces together or painting a room with him, and then eventually being able to do it alone with his careful eye. My dad always taught me to pay attention to detail and to be proud of my finished product. We used to call him the family supervisor. Whether it was the rare occasion he hired someone, or we were doing a home project, he had an eye for detail and a specific way to get the job done. Even to this day, I seek out my dad's approval on my DIY projects or call him with 100 questions on how to do something. Growing up, my parents were everyone's parents. I learned early on that I was going to have to share my dad and that he'd be the go-to guy for all my friends too. Whether he was getting us food, being tolerant with our loud giggling, or driving us around, he was Papa Rapp or Big D, and everyone loved him. My dad taught me the definition of hard work and commitment. When he committed to coaching, he gave it 100%. He'd complete safety courses and study training videos for hours. For 24 years, him and I shared a passion together that was hard to explain to the outside world. We would drive back and forth from family vacations to make sure that we didn't miss a practice. We'd roll out a mat in a warehouse with Marlin so I could tumble during holiday breaks when the gym was closed. He'd drive me up to Allentown to ensure I trained with the best coaches. He would be my coach through warm-ups and when I competed individually. He'd listen to me tumbling in my bedroom, making sure the floor didn't break, or replaying the same music over and over again as I practiced routines nightly in front of our living room mirror. One thing I remember from those high school days is how much he believed in me, even on days that I doubted myself. He taught me that confidence is key, to trust my training, and to believe in myself. When I went to college in Kentucky, it was the first time my dad wasn't physically with me at practices. Although we were 9 hours apart, that didn't keep him from giving me the same advice he did when we were together. He continued to coach at home while supporting my dreams in Kentucky. My dad was only a few miles down the road the day after Christmas when my coach called to tell him I was being taken to the local hospital. God knew I needed my dad in that moment. His calm demeanor is what got me through the next 24 hours, and it was his time to trust his training as an EMT and show his confidence as my dad. As the doctor put my tooth in the wrong way, he kindly and politely told her he didn't think it was in right. As he was instructed to put me in his car and drive me an hour to Lexington in the middle of the night with directions on a piece of scrap paper, he confidently drove the car while trying to keep me awake. As we were at the University of Kentucky Hospital, he held my hand and reassured me it would be okay, as a resident doctor was popping my jaw back into place. And for his shining moment that he bragged about for many years, he helped the doctor glue the wire onto my teeth. It was morning by the time we got back to our hotel, and in true Dennis fashion, he got up, made sure I was okay, reassured my mom that he had this all under control, and had already given housekeeping a large tip after my mouth bled all over the sheets. Fast forward a few years, and I decided it was time to retire and start to coach. It was a no-brainer that the first person I asked to assist me was my dad. For over 10 years, we'd go on to lead teams to championship titles. As proud as we were of those accomplishments, and as competitive as we both were, our conversations on the way home would always circle back to talking about the athlete that we took a chance on, the growth in athletes, and the lessons and memories we'd hoped they'd cherish. We believed that the bond and values we shared would be the foundation of success for our teams and the glue that would hold us all together as a family. My dad was more than just your average family guy. He was someone that could always be counted on. He raised us with compassion, patience, and respect. He set an example for all of us, whether it was running out to the store at 10 p.m. for Diet Pepsi for my mom, filling up my gas tank as a teenager because I'd forgot to earlier that day, picking me up and my friends after a night out, or grilling for the family. He never missed a beat. From Jeff's baseball games and karate events to my soccer games, gymnastics meets, and cheer competitions, he was always on the sideline. After we grew up, he loved watching Novalee and Haley at softball, swim meets, basketball games, and winter choral concerts. He'd come up to watch Colten at swim practice and soccer. Pop-Pop, as the kids called him, had a special bond with each of his grandkids. Novalee and him would go on bike rides. Haley would walk to get coffee and donuts with him at the Jersey Shore. He'd have dinosaur roaring contests with Colten, and we'd be snuggled up on the couch with Braxten. He planned outings for the grandkids too, which always started out with going to breakfast, watching the planes at Doylestown Airport, driving lessons, and my mom and I still laugh about the time he was excited to take Colten to go see animals at a nature center, which all turned out to be taxidermied. I'm glad people laughed. I wasn't sure how that one was going to go over. No matter what the activity was, the kids always loved spending time with their Pop-Pop as much as my brother and I did as kids. To say I loved my dad would be an understatement, and to say I'm going to miss him would be even greater understatement. I will miss hearing, "Hey, Lens," the one-liners, going out to breakfast, your loyalty, the random comments out of nowhere, the long talks out of practice, after practice, driving to competitions together, busting on you for having to be the last one to order at a restaurant because you had to hear what everyone else was getting, sending me funny dog videos, watching you eat your late night snacks, doing your hair with clips as a little girl to cutting your hair as recently as 2 weeks ago so that you looked good for all the nurses. The smirk while you shake your head at me for something ridiculous I did, like the time Mom and I brought home a cat or Nala that you were highly allergic to. Eagles training camps, football games, and mostly your hugs. Gosh darn it, you make me cry in front of everybody again. Our final performance together as a coaching duo was in February. After the performance, my dad hugged me and said, "We did it. We left it all on the mat with no regrets." Dad, those words have more meaning now than they did that day. You have certainly left it all on the mat and lived your best life with no regrets. You have left a legacy and will always be remembered for fighting the toughest battle with class and dignity, for having a heart of gold, for wanting to help people, for making people feel heard, for being selfless, your work ethic, your patience, and your kindness. Dad, your guiding hand on my shoulder will remain with me forever. I'm thankful for all of our memories and will cherish just how special our bond was. I love you, I miss you, and I promise to continue to make you proud. Thank you.
You dwell in the shelter of the Lord, who abide in his shadow for life. Say to the Lord, my refuge, my rock in whom I trust, and he will raise you up on eagle's wings, bear you on the breath of dawn, make you shine like the sun, and hold you in
Hello. We are Novalee and Haley, Dennis's granddaughters. We'll be reading this on behalf of all of his grandchildren, Colten, Braxten, and a baby girl on the way.
Our grandfather kept a garden of the heart. He planted all the good things that gave our lives their start. He turned us to the sunshine and encouraged us to dream, fostering and nurturing the seeds of self-esteem.
And then the winds and rains came. He protected us enough, but not too much because he knew he would stand up strong and tough. His constant good example always taught us right from wrong, markers for our pathway that will last a lifetime long. We are our grandfather's garden. We are his legacy. Thank you, Pop-Pop. We love you.
God looked around his garden and found an empty place. He then looked down upon the earth and saw your tired face. He put his arms around you and lifted you to rest. God's garden must be beautiful. He always takes the best. He knew that you were suffering. He knew you were in pain.
He knew that you would never get well on earth again. He saw the road was getting tough and the hills were hard to climb. So he closed your weary eyelids and whispered, "Peace be thine." It broke our hearts to lose you, but you didn't go alone. Part of us went with you the day God called you home.
We're closing the service today with a sung Lord's Prayer. If you know the words, feel free to sing it in your own hearts, but I'll be singing this over you today. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever.
As Justin mentioned, that does conclude our services for Dennis here today. I want to take a few moments first to thank Justin and everyone from the family who came up to share and made an incredibly powerful service. I know I'm up here for about 30 seconds and I have anxiety, so I know it's difficult on everyone who comes up and does that. I want to thank everyone who came out to share their sympathy and support with the family. It's much appreciated, and however overwhelming it is in this time, The family, I'm sure, will appreciate your support going forward into the weeks and months ahead. So if there was a story that you didn't get a chance to share today, please make sure that you reach out to them in the time ahead and share that with them. At this time, anyone who wishes to is welcome to come up one last time and pay their respects before heading back out to their vehicles. Thank you very much.
We'll say no, man, but you can do the job when you're in town.